Vanguard Gogeta, a unit who dropped an update 3.0, the winter update, and he became the second ever Vanguard unit to ever drop in this game. He kind of just defined the meta, he changed the meta, and he just went crazy, you know. It's a very good unit. He had a lot of like pros, and he of course has some cons, but we'll get into that, you know. So in terms of the video format, we're gonna go through his pros, his cons, you know, in terms of like what I think he needs to become not meta relevant, I guess just somewhat relevant, you know, because he is missing a lot and a few things. His flaws do add up a lot to his kit, you know. It makes a big difference to why he just can't be used at all. And of course, he's aged out a bit, so his damage is a bit low as well. But yeah, there's a few things I do think he needs. I made like a, you know, like I guess a concept for a Vanguard familiar. Even though I think I'm pretty sure limited units can't get one, but I'm hoping Vanguard units are the exception. We've seen when Diavolo, he's got buffed his damage and stuff. So hoping the Vanguard Gogeta can also be buffed as well. But pretty much also after that, we're going to be getting into like just some hard stages. You know, we got Act 8, Aot Ex Stage and the Aot Stage. We're going to be seeing if he can take on those stages. And, you know, from that judgment, you guys can see how bad he is now, or if he's still decent enough to clear those content. And from there, we can make a judgment of if he needs to be buffed or if he just is fine how he is. But yeah, that's it for my part now. Let's just get into this. Alright, so basically, as you can see, one of the pros I have listed for him is that he's a good TPS unit, you know. You can see flatline, 40k DPS, that's without his TP passive. And once you use it, he gets 20% low SPA and he's down to 50k DPS. And as you can see, he has a clone that pretty much just mimics the attack. As you see, anytime this unit attacks, a clone appears mirroring the last attack made. And it pretty much just copies the exact same attack with the same amount, same damage stats. So pretty much it's just doubling his DPS. So he's roughly at 100k DPS. And that alone is very crazy. And then you got the first passive where he has access to the slow. So he has a 10% chance to not attack. Upon doing that, he slows enemies. And this is full AoE, so it hits every enemy in his range. So let's see if we can get the proc. Let's just hope this does not take over. You know, it's a 10% chance. But it is full AoE slow, lasts 5 seconds, and it's, I'm pretty sure, 30% slow. Then let's just get the next one while we have that play off. Let's just hope you have it. Then next up, you got the TP, you know. You can TP anywhere freely on the map. That's what made him so good when he came out. He was pretty much the first unit to pretty much freely TP. And yes, we've had Todo in update 1, but Todo wasn't freely TPing anywhere you want. You have to move him one by one, one by one, one by one, moving any unit with him, but Gogeta's T-Bolt is map wide and it can be used anywhere at any time, of course after 20 seconds cooldown. But upon doing it, it lowers his cooldown by 20%, making his actual DPS a lot better. And it's pretty much 20 seconds of the SP reduction, so you have a full uptime on it. Then, you know, next up, you got his element, being a blast unit. When he first dropped, the unit that he was paired up with a lot was this unit. And the blast, just the blast element team in general just dominated the game, because as you can see here, this allowed unlimited forgeries. During this, all enemies took 25% more damage, but you see, blast allies, you see, he slowed down, full AoE. But it's a pretty good slow, you know. And then you got blast allies do 50% more damage, so in turn it's 75% more damage for blast allies, which in turn made him very good, especially when he came out. There was no other, I think Archer's the only unit at that time to have a blast, elemental buffer, making like just the blast elements unit in general just very good, especially since blast element units also had this 10% damage reduction that they ignored. Yeah, but pretty much this synergy dominated when he first came out, update 3-ish. That's when he came out, and you can see with these two, they were actually just dominant. You had him, Archer, and Tengen as a trio, and even in competitive games like Infinite, you'll see these three get a lot of usage. Alright, now that we are on the pros, now onto the cons. There's a lot of cons with him that made him, you know, just annoying to deal with. So you can see, I have a maxed out right now, so I'll just get through, not from the top to bottom, I'll go from bottom to the top. So as you guys know, he's a one placement unit, so he's just heavily Monarch reliant. So if you just couldn't get Monarch in him when he first came out, there was just pretty much no use of using him, you know, because traitless, he's not all that. With other traits, he's kind of mid as well. And also his stacking for his first passive is absolutely horrendous. You need to miss 10 attacks, and it takes a 10% chance just to miss. That alone is just so stupid. Like, hitting this 10% chance is not fun to deal with, especially when you're using him. So you couldn't, in some game modes, you wouldn't even getting his full 50% damage. So that's one negative there. And of course, we all know how low a 10% is. And this will also just hinder you in a sense, I guess, because you could have times there where you're just chasing a boss, you know, you're about to die, and he's very low, and then your Gogeta unit just does not attack, and he misses. So yeah, that's the next thing. And as you can see, he's getting stunned right now, and that's one of his other cons. Pretty much he has no immunities, no debuff immunity, no stats effect immunity. So pretty much any debuff that afflicts him, or any stats effect that inflicts him, it just hinders him a lot. Then next up, as you guys can see, he's a very expensive unit, so let me just sell him right now, which will get me onto the next one as well. So let's place him down. As you can see, he costs 181k to max. That is just not viable in a lot of game modes. In 15 wave game modes, you're not getting him up unless you run double farm. And with the way with the amount of units you have right now, you're not gonna be wanting to run double farm. There's no need. There's a lot of good units, and you know, he just gets cooked over by this cost. And the next part, his final weakness, is pretty much just his AoE types. As you can see, he's got a small circle on this upgrade, and this AoE is so bad for placement. Next up, you've got a larger circle, maybe like increased by like 5%. Then like, what do you guess? It's another larger circle. Yeah, just slightly larger again. And yeah, next up is another larger circle. Who would have guessed that? And then you got a big jump between his next AoE, and you can see here, just from this upgrade, he wasted 80 yen. You know, K maxed out and he's at 100 more K. So yeah, it's kind of cooked. And then you go max him out, and it's a mid cone. You know, this cone is absolutely horrendous, especially with the way a lot of maps are. You see how the pathing is. He's hitting this part, all these enemies just not getting hit. It's so mid. But yeah, that's pretty much all his cons. You know, his main weaknesses: his AoE type, no immunities. His stacking is absolutely horrendous on this. It's just, you know, he has a lot of weaknesses, and it definitely cuts him off a lot. Like, it just makes him, I wouldn't say he's a horrendous unit, but it just cuts him down a lot. Alright, so this is pretty much a little concept that I made. But you can see the first passive is just the first part is just in relation to the first passive he has, where he slows enemies for 30%, and then, you know, he also gains damage by 5% each time he misses, up to 50%. So I was thinking that kind of just takes too long, and in a lot of game modes you're just not going to get that all. So I was thinking maybe increasing it to 12.5% each time, so it's like 4 attacks total, just missing 4 attacks total. And when he does miss, he stuns enemies for 2%, 2 seconds in his range. So he has a stun and a slow, similar to Gilgamesh in a way, I guess. Then next up, you got your time is up, increases damage by 75%. Initially I wanted to do 125%, but you know, I had to keep things realistic, because let's be real, this guy is not gonna get a familiar. You know, we all know. You know, it's sad, it's a sad thing, but I really doubt that they're even gonna give this guy a familiar. But pretty much it's just 75% damage. Doesn't seem that crazy. And I'll show you, pop some numbers, so that if he does have the 75% damage, you can see that he gets was it 505k damage. You know, that's including the 50% overhead, and then with that he's roughly around 87k DPS without a clone, and then with the clone it's about 174k DPS, give or take, in it. And that's pretty good. You know, a lot of units like nowadays do have, like, you know, I think Hollow Stuff has like 200k DPS. A lot of other units just have more DPS than that, and you have to factor in he's doing that in a small cone, so it is quite nice, but it's nothing like that crazy, you know what I mean? And then also you can see cost of each upgrade is reduced by 35%. This is heavily needed, because without it he's costing 181k yen to max out. So with that 35% reduction, he's gonna cost about 134k yen to max, which is still kind of pricey. It's like Hollow Stuff's cost, but it's something that he does need. Okay, next up, as you can see, denied. After activating instant teleportation, Gogeta deals 100% more damage on the next attack to the strongest enemy in range. So pretty much it's like a single target effect. So pretty much whoever the strongest enemy is in his range after TPing, he's just gonna do basically double his damage to that singular enemy. So every 4 attacks pretty much, or every 4 to 5 attacks, he's just doing double damage to the strongest enemy. And then he of course has his clone doing that as well. That's the little fun part I wanted to have with him. I had like a few things with it. It could have just been basic with just cost reduction, damage, and then like the stun thing, and then the gotcha passive changing. But I wanted to have like a little bit of fun with it. If I were gonna do like a proper one where I actually wanted him to be OP, I would have had so much more fun. But I tried to keep it as minimalistic as I wanted to be, as it should have been. But I still kind of went slightly overboard with it. But yeah, just want to have a bit of fun in terms of what he needs in it. But in terms of what like main things he needs, of course, is cost reduction, damage, and a few other things, reducing his stacking as well. That's the main things. But pretty much that's just it for like talking about what he needs and what I want from him. Let's just get into some gameplay of him taking on some of the hard stages in the game. Alright, so pretty much you can see that it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. We had a lot of just like poor runs, just a lot of times where things just went wrong. And that's just pretty much how Gogeta is. He just can't do things on his own. Or not right now, of course. Let's just hope he does get a buff. But you can see that he struggles a lot. Especially by himself. He struggles a lot. Look, this one we got him down to, was it 200k? This occasion we got him down to, was it 180k? Just a lot of failed runs, but you can see for the main part of the team, we are using the other Gogeta. The reason for that is the passive on screen. You saw, he gives cost reduction and crit rate to our Vanguard Gogeta, which is very beneficial for him. Because as you guys do know, he's just very costly, so we do need that cost reduction to even have a chance at maxing him out in a 15 wave game mode. But pretty much, yeah, you can see this run isn't 2x speed. The reason for this is, I have a lot of games to show you, so I need to just power through all of these. There's 3 stages in total, and the video seems like to be 12 minutes long already, so yeah. But yeah, you can see we have Priestess here, just to slow these enemies. We have the other Gogeta placed down, just to get stacks up. So when he crits, he gives our Gogeta a cost reduction and crit rate as well. But yeah, the reason why we play most of the run in auto off, as you guys do know, Gogeta has some horrendous just stacking. He needs to miss 10 attacks total on a 10% chance to get his full 50% overhead, which is kind of chopped. It's very chopped in fact. So if he ever does get buffed, which I do hope so, that definitely needs to change, because it's not really beneficial at all. Maybe in long game modes, like long wave game modes, you can definitely get all those stacks in, but in 15 wave game modes, you just can't. And there's a lot of maintenance with the Gogeta, because you just need to maintain using his thingy, his TP, so you can have that extra 20% SP reduction as well. You can see we're placing our other Gogetas just placed around. You see that little laugh he does. Pretty much he just needs to do that a lot of times. You can see we're already at 1.48x. Of course running Priestess and, not Priestess, Orihime buff and a Smith buff on him to get extra damage out of him. But yeah, you can see he's doing a lot of damage to this boss. Pretty much it's like 54k DPS right now. But yeah, this run I did get very lucky with it, because he did get all his stacks in, not all of it, but he did a lot of stacks. And you can see he's out DPS in this region, or the reason I was able to out DPS, what's English? The reason why I was out DPSing him was because I had a Roja on my Priestess, but even without the Roja, I can tell you for sure he would have out DPSed him. It just would have taken a lot longer. It might have taken just about to the end. As long as you maintain the TP, you can pretty much just kill him even with his regen. And then there's this boss as well. The wave 10 boss shouldn't be an issue as well, especially with the upgrade we got him at right now. You're just gonna melt through his HP. And since he's slowable, or you're able to CC him, you can just follow him with Priestess. And you can see we're at 60% crit rate. It's very nice. And that's why we're able to do a lot of damage. This Gogeta is one of his best partners for him. The 2 Gogetas together are just very good to pair up with, because Was it the recent Gogeta in 8.5 just gives you a lot of just breathing room, you know, cost reduction and just a lot of damage, you know, because of like those crits coming in, just very clutch. You can see we're already at like 50k DPS. Yeah, 1.6x damage already, 1.63x. Because we are running a Fu on our Smith, which gives a bit more extra damage. You can see once the bosses are dead, we're just following and just letting these enemies die. We're just praying that our Gogeta just gets more stacks in. Because it does take a lot of time. You see, he's been missing a lot of attacks, which is pretty much just favouring us. And you can see 1.63 is the max. It did take a long time to get that, but definitely it's beneficial. But yeah, now he's at 1.73x, and with the Orihime buff, he should have got even higher. So we do cleanse him here, and upgrade Orihime, and you can see he's at 1.88 damage. With the crit he's doing, it's a lot of damage, you know. So what's his damage at? Let's see, 63k DPS. And now it's just about doing as much damage as possible. So we have to follow him with Gogetas, the level 1 Gogeta, plus the other Gogetas. Is it level 1 level 3? I can't remember. And the priestesses to break down his armored stacks. And once we do get those armored stacks down, you can see we have Gogeta TP there. And from that TP spot, it's just perfect for him. He's just covering a lot of spot, a lot of range. So he's going to be slowing these enemies if he does end up missing. But he has a lot of damage as well. And you can see we do kill this boss pretty easily, I guess. Not pretty easily. I wouldn't say it's easy. It did take a lot of effort, but very early. And he did miss it. It kind of cooked me over. But at least he didn't miss consecutively, and that was able to help us beat the stage. And that's it for the GGEX stage. Now on to that Aot Ex Stage. We see we picked champions again as well. Well, recently they kind of fixed it. You can see they actually spawn from the other path now. Don't even know when that was put in, but it is a nice feature that the actual other path that is meant to be there from the start is working. But yeah, you can see we pretty much bring Dio here, and it's a unevolved Dio. The reason for this, we just need the rupture, because a lot of these enemies do have crazy regen capabilities. You can see these pure giants, plus a lot of the bosses as well. But yeah, we're pretty much just farming. And you can see Gogeta's doing it slow, getting his stacks in as well. You can see we auto off at wave 4, just to get more stacks in, just praying for it to happen. And you know, Gogeta is struggling with these enemies already. That's how weak he is on placement, because his AoE is kind of garbage. Look, he's already struggling. And it's kind of funny how the champions boss ended up being the crystal, so it made it even more annoying as well to deal with it. So we have to kill the crystal, plus kill this attack titan boss that's coming in as well. It's about stalling these bosses as long as possible. And now you can see the crystal is dead. We follow these mobs and then we focus the Eren. But yeah, pretty much this run is just playing on auto skip off the whole time. That's the only way for Gogeta to even stand a chance. Because furthermore, on top of this, Eren having crazy regen, which we cancelled out rupture, he also has armored, which makes him just take a lot less damage from Gogeta in general. And you can see just dealing with these placements, these little enemies just leaking around, it's just so annoying. You can see how much enemies he's just having to follow and track. And that's just the downsides to his AoEs, you know. Because we're still at like some just tiny circle. I'll call this like a small circle. see how long look how much time we wasted on the top of the screen just to get from the back to the front, just to kill these enemies as well. Yeah, seeing with Dio, we're gonna have to make sure we rupture every enemy possible. We rupture this pure giant, and then we rupture the main bosses as well. And there's another attack titan, so we have to rupture him as well. So we also ruptured the Aaron boss, and you can see he's absolutely destroying these guys. That 4 million boss was nothing. And over here it spawned another Aaron upon killing that attack titan, so another painful thing to deal with. But you can see Gogeta just absolutely shreds him, even with this small range. And that's one of his other weaknesses, you know, I mentioned at the very start. He's not immune to debuffs, so just range debuffs plus attack debuffs, it kind of cooks him over. Any drain or blinded in general. But yeah, it's pretty much the same setup as the last run. We just have Dio for Rupture. And you can see we didn't even have the extra damage from the other Gogeta at all times. We're only at 11% crit rate. We should be at a lot more. And you can see with this one we got kind of lucky that the crystal spawned up here. And that is pretty much it for the Aot Ex Stage, you know. Next up is the Act 8 stage. Do you guys think we're gonna beat it? Let me know in the comments, you know. That is quite a difficult stage, especially for Gogeta. It's just high numbers, so let's see how it goes. So now let's go. Pretty much we have the Act 8. And pretty much for the most part it's boring, so I'm gonna skip through a lot of it and just show you the boss interactions and how I deal with the bosses with Gogeta. Okay, first boss we're dealing with is Gilgamesh. And you know, the reason why I placed a lot of Goblin Killers is because when Gilgamesh does his little unit deletion, I want him to delete those guys and not my Gogeta. But you can see Gogeta is just dealing with this boss easily. And look, he deleted the Goblin Killers and yeah, Gogeta just killed him off. So that's the first boss dealt with. Let's just get to the next boss. And yeah, next up you can see is Yuhaba. And he's quite annoying because he just has immunity. Like just random full immunity. I think it's a good 10-15 seconds. But yeah, it's kind of annoying to deal with, but Gogeta should just power through this and you can see just demolishing him. It didn't take that many attacks and he just dead, so yeah. That's just Yuhaba dead. Next, get to the next boss. And as you can see, wave 20, we got Buhan. I had a lot of Goblin Clays placed around. The reason for this, I wanted to hit them with a trap. And I did manage it there. And that allowed me just to apply Rupture on this boss, and yeah, he just got demolished. Another easy boss to get absolutely shredded by Gogeta. But yeah, Gogeta deals with this pretty nicely. The reason why his damage is so low is because these enemies do have energy drain, so it kind of cooked him over there. But yeah, he did deal with them pretty nicely. And that's Buhan dead. Let's get to the next boss. And now up, we've got our best friend, Me for Disorder. And he's annoying because he has armored, but you can see what we do with him. Just absolutely shred him. It's pretty much the same case, you know. Gogeta is just doing a lot of damage to him. Yeah, the reason we're following Gogeta's, the other ones, is just to get the crit off. So we have crit on our main Gogeta, and we also have the armored sights getting broken down. Yeah, Glyph for Disorder, very easy boss to deal with. That's 18 million down by Gogeta. typical final set of bosses here. We're just trying to apply rupture to the boss, and it's kind of painful to do. It does take a lot of selling replacement these goblin killers. And these mobs are a lot of tanky as well, so we need to apply them rupture as well. So this is where the stage gets very annoying to deal with. There's just a lot of mobs to deal with. You can see even with Griffith's help, you can't do it at all. So that's 100 mil by the way. I don't think we're burning that 100 mil. Even with Goblin Killer's help, it's definitely not possible. You know, it's not too bad in terms of what we've done to the boss. Done a lot of damage, but doesn't seem like it's possible. I'm sure you guys know that as well. And we've got another boss to deal with as well. So yeah, you guys can see that it's just clearly not possible to beat this act with Gogeta. So yeah, it's kind of cooked. Even with Goblin Killer's help, you just can't beat it. But overall, it was a good run with Gogeta. I had a lot of fun making this video. If you guys do enjoy this video, let me know. Like, subscribe, and yeah, if you want to see more of the units I want to cover, was it Saber or Yuha Boss, so let me know. Like, subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.